England tomorrow.
The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. God bless America.
Pope John Paul begins his pilgrimage to the United States, welcomed at the Miami airport by President and Mrs. Reagan and by priests and parishioners in this southern gateway to America. Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting tonight from Miami, where the Pope ends his first day with a parade right through downtown here on Biscayne Boulevard. Also tonight, a private meeting with the President. CBS News correspondent Mark Phillips traveled on the Pope's plane from Rome, and he begins our report.
Pope John Paul II has repeatedly made it clear that he is unhappy with dissension in the American Catholic Church and with the growing secularism in America. But on his arrival in Miami today, there were no words of criticism.
I come as a friend of America and of all Americans, Catholics, Orthodox, Protestants, Jews, people of every religion, and all men and women of goodwill.
The friendly tone had been set by President Reagan, who welcomed John Paul back to the United States and said Americans were ready to listen to his teachings.
And yet we Americans admit freely to our shortcomings. As you exhort us, we will listen, for with all our hearts, we yearn to make this good land better still.
Pope John Paul will deliver 45 speeches over the next 10 days, dealing with all of the contentious issues within the American Catholic Church. But today he stressed the elements of American society that he likes: its freedom, its generosity. At a meeting between the Pope and American priests, the first hint of the problems the Church is having.
Morale suffers when we see parishes without priests and prayer services taking the place of Sunday Mass.
To become...
John Paul did address what he called sensitive issues on which there are differences of opinion, urging priests not to give in to social pressures instead of sticking to the strictest gospel.
Sometimes, however, what is asked of you in the name of compassion may not be in accord with the full truth of God.
Friction with another religious group, American Jews, will surface tomorrow. Because of continuing displeasure over the Pope's meeting with Kurt Waldheim, the Austrian president with a Nazi past, rabbis will be openly critical at their meeting with the Pope.
There's no point in sweeping our disagreements under the rug. This is an occasion when there is an exchange of attitudes and feelings.
At this evening's private meeting between President Reagan and John Paul, there were no evident disagreements in what may be one of the most harmonious encounters of this visit. Dan, the Pope came back for a chat with reporters on the flight from Rome, and he was asked about the CBS News New York Times poll that show a majority of American Catholics disagree with him on such issues as premarital sex and divorce.
I am not the first against whom it was disagreement was Jesus Christ.
Will you be talking about specifics, abortion, birth control, AIDS, all of these things?
Of course. That belongs to the entire teaching of the Church and to the entire message of the Gospel.
And it is the Gospel, according to John Paul, that the Pope will be spreading as he travels across the country, although it looks as though the message, however strong, will be delivered in gentler tones than it was during John Paul's visit to the U.S. in 1979. Dan?
Thank you. Mark Phillips. At the Miami airport, the Pope said he was coming to America as one who already knows and loves you. That's a quote. And in Miami, right from the start, they loved him too. Bernard Goldberg reports.
Miami is celebrating at a church in Little Haiti at a mass for Cuban Americans on Biscayne Bay. This city, which has suffered an image of crime and violence, today is a city of joy and excitement.
I felt very good. I had a feeling that come over me as if I was almost in the presence of God.
The Pope was always a man in the Vatican, someone that was in an ivory tower, and this Pope isn't. He's here, and we're going to see him today, and it's thrilling. It's thrilling.
He is a Pope who reaches out to ordinary people, who of course are not ordinary at all. Yvette Rocco is 12 years old. She camped out at 7:30 this morning to see the Pope's parade, which was to begin 12 hours later.
I'm Catholic, and I've always believed in God, and since he's the closest thing to God that is alive, I would like to see him, and I would like to get his blessings.
For a few, it was a day simply to make a few extra bucks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting the Pope. Oh, bats!
But there was a lot more of this.
What does that mean to you, that the Pope is coming today? Are you excited?
Yeah, it brings us happiness every single day. It brings us happiness.
Renato Renzi moved to Miami 23 years ago. He's Jewish.
I'm from Rome, Italy, and many times I go see him. At this time, I'm very happy. Come and see me. I'm very happy.
For most Americans, this indeed is a very special day, even though most Americans aren't Catholic, and most Catholic Americans exercise more religious independence than the Pope would prefer. But for the most faithful, today is a once-in-a-lifetime happening. The day Pope John Paul II, the Pope of the people, came to see them. Bernard Goldberg, CBS News, Miami.
Miami police arrested a man today carrying a handgun and a knife in an area behind the altar where Pope John Paul will celebrate an outdoor mass tomorrow. The 53-year-old suspect was identified as a construction worker for the company that built the altar. He was jailed on weapons charges. There's been no explanation of why he was carrying the arms. Next week in San Francisco, the Pope will meet with AIDS patients and their families, but published remarks by a Vatican official today made it clear that the Church is not changing its flat opposition to homosexuality. In San Francisco, John Blackstone got reaction from church people and gay people.
Leonard Matlovich is Catholic, homosexual, and has AIDS. He is one of many Americans waiting to see if the Pope will embrace him or reject him.
I come as a friend of the poor and the sick and the dying.
But Matlovich had just read what a Vatican official told a San Francisco newspaper about AIDS. It is a natural sanction. That is, a punishment of nature against homosexual activities. In parishes across the country where the dying are being comforted, the statement raised alarms.
I mean, that's just nonsense. I don't understand why he would say something like that.
And one can't say that every sin is going to have some kind of a natural sanction. Nor can one say that everybody that's sick had therefore sinned.
On his flight to the United States today, the Pope himself was asked if he believed God was punishing homosexuals with AIDS. He answered, "It is not easy to know God's intentions." But he said homosexuals are not outcasts. But any compassion the Pope shows people with AIDS during this visit will still be accompanied by condemnation of homosexual activity.
The Holy Father must be clear in order to be faithful to Christ that all sexual activity outside of marriage, whether it be heterosexual activity or homosexual activity, is contrary to God's law.
But many of those facing death cannot accept they are dying because they have sinned. John Blackstone, CBS News, San Francisco.
And still ahead tonight on the CBS Evening News from Florida. A big flap over big money for the Contras, an update, an encouraging one on those Siamese twins separated over the weekend. We'll show you why the Reverend Jerry Falwell took the plunge today, and I'll look at the many kinds of Catholics the Pope will meet, and some he won't, when our coverage from Miami continues.
In the morning, in the evening, ain't we got fun? You know, when you take a Carnival cruise, all your shipboard fun is included in the price. All your nighttime entertainment's included. All your food's included, too. Plus, fantastic tropical ports of call. And you know what all this costs? A lot less than you think. Even your airfare's included. Take a 3, 4, or 7-day cruise on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
It's the Subaru year-end clearance! The greatest Subaru deals in Subaru history! Stupendous Subaru savings!
Hold it! Instead of a great deal of hype, Subaru gives you a great deal. Up to $1,500 factory cash back or 3.9% financing. Great deals on just about every model, including a wide range of Subarus under $10,000, up to $1,500 back or 3.9%. With cars and deals that good, you don't have to shout.
Dan Miller waited a long time to see this. He almost missed it. Not long ago, Dan had a heart attack. Since then, his doctor prescribed a regimen of exercise, the right foods, and an aspirin a day. Studies with people who had a heart attack or unstable angina show aspirin can help prevent heart attacks.
He was always there when I needed him.
Maybe it could help you. See your doctor. He knows what's right for you. This message brought to you by Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
More of the unfortunate unusual in the Persian Gulf today. Iranian gunboats fired on a Cypriot tanker filled with Saudi Arabian oil, and Iraqi aircraft bombed industrial targets inside Iran. But something unusual happened in the Gulf too. Libya, not generally known as a peace broker, joined Iraq in calling for an end to the Iran-Iraq war. Official word today that President Reagan will have a White House meeting Tuesday with Soviet Foreign Minister Shevardnadze. They'll talk about prospects for a new arms control deal and a new summit with Gorbachev. Secretary of State Schultz went public today with President Reagan's plans to put more heat on Congress by asking for millions of dollars more aid to Nicaraguan rebels. Critics immediately said this shows Mr. Reagan isn't really serious about giving a new Central America peace plan a chance to work. Phil Jones is covering the latest crunch over aid to the Contras.
A political firestorm erupted today as Secretary of State George Shultz disclosed administration plans to ask for $270 million in new aid for the Nicaraguan rebels, even though delicate peace negotiations are now underway.
We need to end the doubt and uncertainty about the capacity and commitment of the United States.
To make a request such as this in the middle of this particular process, I think is the worst possible signal we could be sending.
Schultz argued that on September 30th, the end of the fiscal year, military aid will end for the Contras. During October, the Contras would still be receiving money already in the pipeline, but by the November 7th deadline, if the Sandinistas do not agree to a proposed ceasefire, the Contras would be in trouble.
With rapidly dwindling resources and no further help from us. As their resources disappear, the helicopter gunships and armored personnel carriers and rocket launchers that the Soviet Union is continuing to supply will guarantee a communist victory.
Schultz argued that approval of more aid would help keep the Sandinistas at the bargaining table, but congressional critics charged that the administration had just handed the Sandinistas a wonderful propaganda tool. And sure enough, Nicaraguan government officials wasted no time denouncing the plan.
Really, we don't need any pressure against us in order to negotiate. We seek negotiation.
Schultz did not indicate when the official aid request would be made. However, it appears doubtful that Congress will approve any more aid before the November ceasefire deadline expires. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Some new details today about high-level cover-ups in the Arms for Iran debacle. In testimony to Congress just made public, Admiral John Poindexter admits he knew Oliver North was going to destroy a key notebook. It was chock full of details about early arms shipments to Iran. Poindexter also claims that he never mentioned secret aid for Nicaraguan rebels to President Reagan because he felt if the secret ever became public, it would, quote, cause a ruckus. Two government reports tonight about our changing America. A Census Bureau report underscores the special attention the Pope is giving to the Hispanic faithful during his visit. The U.S. Hispanic population, the Census Bureau says, is now growing 5 times faster than any other group in the nation. A report out from the Centers for Disease Control on Americans who smoke, now down to the lowest levels among adults ever recorded. Just under 30% of men are smokers, just under 24% of women smoke. This means almost 47 million Americans still do smoke. Even in these astounding times, it stands as a medical marvel and a triumph of humans' determination to help other humans. A team of 70 doctors, nurses, and technicians accomplished the extraordinary when they operated on Siamese twins joined at the head. Today, an encouraging update on the twins' progress. CBS News medical correspondent Susan Spencer reports.
Doctors at Johns Hopkins who separated the 7-month-old Binder twins say they still are in critical condition. But remarkably, tests so far show no sign of brain damage, giving hope they could someday be normal children.
I think all of us who witnessed what these twins went through in the operating room have to be heartened by their stamina and by their recovery.
The twins still are in a drug-induced coma, as they have been since the 22-hour operation last weekend. In a few days, however, doctors gradually will reduce the drugs and bring them out of it.
We have allowed during certain periods, the coma to lighten up somewhat, and we have seen some movement in both twins during those periods.
Very encouraging to the parents who visit every day.
Their parents can come and stand right next to the bed and touch them.
Recovery time could be up to a year. Both boys will need further surgery to fully cover and protect the area where they once were joined. But doctors stress that from now on, anyone asking how things are going will have to ask 2 questions, not 1.
They have had differences right from the very start. When we first met the twins, they responded differently. They were 2 individual personalities.
Doctors said today they had no plan if something had gone wrong, no thought of what to do if they'd had to sacrifice one twin to save the other. As it is, the chances for both appear far better than anyone dared hope. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
Heartburn again.
Yeah.
You gonna sit there and suffer? You're gonna take something.
What do you have?
Riopan plus 2. It's double strength.
I hope it works fast.
How fast can you get to the medicine cabinet?
In lab tests, Riopan Plus 2 starts neutralizing acid in 10 seconds, and 1 teaspoon neutralizes more acid than 2 teaspoons of regular Maalox or Mylanta. That's twice as strong.
You look better.
You want to go out for a banana split?
Kidding.
Riopan Plus 2, the fast antacid.
Be one of 20 lucky winners during the Pennzoil Jeep Comanche 4x4 giveaway and get $3 a case or 20 cents a quart back in rebates. To enter, mail in the rebate entry form from bottles of quality Pennzoil motor oil or see this display for details, and you could drive away a winner.
Tell all the world. That label stands for quality.
It stands for fashion, and it stands for America.
And that's why it matters. So ask for and buy Made in the USA.
Tell all the world America matters to you.
Look, they're my parents, and I tell you, they're acting different. I mean, they go dancing. Herbert and Jane dancing. I know, Mother thinks it's fun. She wears eye makeup now. I don't know what's gotten into them. Whose is this? Why don't they act their age?
To help them get more out of life, people are eating better. Some have found Kellogg's Product 19, 100% of 12 vitamins and minerals. Feel good about yourself.
Tennis? They don't play tennis.
Feel like 19 again.
The Pope's first formal meeting with the group in America was with representatives of the country's 57,000 priests. The men he'll leave with the task of bringing American Catholics more in line with the Roman Church. But a new CBS News New York Times poll taken last month for our special report later tonight, Catholics in America, shows that many American priests go along with the idea that their parishioners can follow some church teachings and reject others. For instance, a majority of priests in the poll said they thought someone could disagree with the church's stand on abortion and still be a good Catholic. And a huge majority of priests felt someone who practiced birth control could still be a good Catholic. Vatican officials say the Pope is coming here not to punish or to scold, but coming with love and, like a shepherd, to try and guide his flock.
I baptize you in the name of the Father.
He will find that Catholics in the United States are the same as anywhere else.
And of the Holy Spirit.
He will also find they are very different. It is not just joyful noises unto the Lord, but dissent, distrust, even dismay.
Do you think this Pope is the right Pope for the 1980s? Is he in step, and should he be trying to be in step with the times?
He doesn't seem, though, in my opinion, to be tuned in to some of the issues. The role of women in the church is one that he seems to be out of touch with. I see no problem with priests marrying, as an example.
Even though most American Catholics we polled say they can disagree with the Pope on moral issues, yet remain good Catholics, the Pope declares otherwise.
It has to be realized that the moral law is not subject to majority rule, to a popular vote.
But the Pope's word no longer is gospel in America, from birth control to divorce.
The ideal is you get married, it's one person, and you live together for life. But people are not always ideal. Life is not always ideal.
A support group called Single Again Catholics meets in a Seattle church to deal with the Vatican's refusal to accept divorce.
I don't feel like a second-class citizen. I don't think anyone could tell me, you cannot go to communion. Jesus and I are one.
One of 5 people raised Catholic no longer practices the faith. The number of clergy is down. Parishioners' calls go begging.
Holy Redeemer Parish, this is Father Elwood talking. I'm sorry that I'm not in it.
Some archdioceses are going Madison Avenue.
The work is hard, but the rewards are infinite. If you think you can do the job, call us.
But women need not call. Another big bump along the Pope's upcoming unsmooth journey.
Yes, women priests, women bishops, married priest. I look toward all that.
The biggest changes being made are by Hispanics, re-energizing the church. Now a minority, their number is expected to grow to 50% by the turn of the century. Small wonder the Pope will go into Texas, the heartland of Hispanic America.
My reaction was, wow, isn't that tremendous? It's about time.
But many say they feel left out.
Almost everywhere we still hear the complaint, Father, we're still being driven out of the church, we're still not accepted, we're still not wanted, we're still treated as second-class citizens.
Pope John Paul is coming to spread God's word, but he'll be hearing God-fearing Catholics who say his version is not the only way to interpret the word, but who love him nonetheless.
More than any other one thing, if you had just a few seconds to say something to the Pope during his visit here, what would you say?
I'd like to say to him that I think he's a very positive, very needed role model, and just to keep on with the image and with the philosophy of the church as he's doing.
The full 1-hour report on Catholics in America will be broadcast at 9 tonight, 8 Central Time. Immediately following will be a CBS Reports with Leslie Stahl looking at the nation's staggering debt and deficit and who's going to pay it. While the papal visit commanded a lot of attention today, the Reverend Jerry Falwell made a big splash too. First, he climbed to the top of PTL's Heritage Village 53-foot-high water slide, and then, as he promised he would, the 245-pound Falwell, fully dressed in a 3-piece suit, splashed down the slide after muttering, "Now I lay me down to sleep." Falwell early this summer pledged to take the plunge if 1,000 people donated $1,000 each to the PTL ministry by Labor Day.
I know choosing a medicine is an important family decision, but for me, it's also an easy decision. The day my son was born was the first time that I was given Tylenol. It took care of the pain without irritating my stomach like aspirin or even ibuprofen can. Getting Tylenol that day really impressed me. When a hospital gives it to you, that's the best reason of all to trust Tylenol. I know it is for my family.
Trust Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
When you buy a pair of Corning prescription lenses that change, it's like getting free light tints, free medium tints, dark tints, and a whole range of free sunglasses. Corning lenses. When you're buying eyeglasses, these are the ones to buy.
Where does it hurt?
Here.
For indigestion, heartburn, and gas, nobody does as much as Malox Plus. Dose for dose, it neutralizes more than any regular strength antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as Malox Plus.
There's a spirit growing all across the USA, feeling getting stronger. Spirit of the new ERA, a feeling of pride about what we do, helping make your American dream come true.
We can help make your American dream come true, faster and easier.
Helping make your American dream come true, the new ERA.
This evening, Pope John Paul and President Reagan met for an hour at the Vizcaya Museum. That's an Italian Renaissance-style villa on Biscayne Bay with 10 acres of fountains and formal gardens. The meeting has just ended, and White House correspondent Bill Plant is standing by to tell us what happened. Bill?
Dan, the White House said that they expect the meeting to be mostly about arms control, a subject that the Pope is known to care deeply about. And, of course, Mr. Reagan will be able to tell him that he fully expects to have an arms control agreement with the Soviets and probably a summit meeting by the end of November. Another more delicate matter, though, U.S. in Central America and the Central American Peace Plan. The U.S. hopes to persuade the Pope to tell the Archbishop of Nicaragua, Cardinal Ibando y Bravo, that he doesn't have to go to a bishop's meeting in October so that he can be back in Nicaragua supervising the peace process. Dan?
Well, Bill, what is the Pope likely to say after this meeting with the President? Any word on that?
Yes, Dan, there's a striking similarity to, he harks back to what he said 8 years ago about how a powerful nation such as the U.S. has enormous responsibilities. But there's one thing that has us all scratching our heads. He says that manipulation of public opinion or any abuse of authority or power endangers the heritage of a free people. And there are a lot of us here who wonder if that somehow refers to the Iran-Contra scandal, even though he's quoting himself from 1980.
Well, Bill, we'll just have to see. Thanks, Bill Plant. You know, in reporting on the Pope, we and everybody else has paid a lot of attention to the conflicts between the Vatican and the American Church. Yet it may be worth reminding ourselves in the midst of all this that the theme of the Pope's tour is unity. And the remarkable thing is that he makes it work. He inspires a feeling of unity that often transcends the conflict. And this is a central idea of Christianity, that unity, love, and reconciliation are found not just in ideas or doctrines, but in each individual person. The Pope is called the Vicar of Christ on earth. What we saw today was the Vicar making his rounds. And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Until our special broadcast on Catholics in America tonight at 9, 8 Central Time, Dan Rather, covering the Pope in Miami. See you later.
Think of all the things you could be doing if only you had more energy. Energy comes from food. By eating a well-balanced diet with vitamin B complex and biotin, the energy releasers. To be sure you're getting enough energy releasers, take Theragran M high-potency multivitamins with minerals rich in B complex and biotin. They're essential for converting food into the energy you need. So eat right and take Theragran M from Squibb with energy releasers. Unleash your energy.
Now there's Theragran Jr. for your child.
Fixing this water damage will cost $1,200. Could I have prevented it?
You could with Thompson's Water Seal.
This water damage is going to run $750. What would have stopped it?
Prevent water damage with Thompson's Water Seal. Simply brush Thompson's on wood, brick, or concrete and it penetrates to form a barrier water can't get past even when driven by 98-mile-per-hour winds.
This time I'm going to protect my new deck with Thompson's Water Seal. A great defense against repair expense.
Del Monte asked 3 people with a taste for something exciting which drink has the blend of flavors they've been looking for.
Del Monte, apple cherry. Del Monte, classic raspberry. Del Monte, country strawberry.
Del Monte Fruit Blends. People with a taste for excitement are discovering that a drink with a blend of fruits can mean more taste. Fruit Blends. More fruit, more taste.
American vision, world view. That is the promise of CBS News.
This is CBS.